happens if a Triffid gets caught in quicksand?
They would probably survive because they've almost got a periscope, haven't they, Triffids?
They just look like daffodils.
The AI fix a digital zoo. Smart machines, what will they do? Flies to Mars or bake a bad cake? World domination, a silly mistake. Bots with brains.
Hello, and welcome to episode 37 of the AI Fix, your weekly dive headfirst into the bizarre and sometimes mind-boggling world of artificial intelligence. My name's Graham Cluley.
And I'm Mark Stockley.
Now, Mark, it's been a while, but I think it's time we took another journey into the
world of the weird.
We've talked about AGI quite a lot on the podcast, Artificial General Intelligence, which is this idea of an AI that is as capable as humans, or more capable than humans, across a range of tasks.
Yes.
I was thinking the other day, how will we know when we're there? We're waiting for somebody like OpenAI to go, we've made AGI. But what if we're there already? What if it just happened and we didn't notice? And then I came across this website called Tracking AI. And one of the things that Tracking AI does is it produces IQ test results for all of the large language models that you've heard of.
Oh.
If you look at the chart, you'll see that there are now AIs that have IQs in excess of the average, in excess of 100.
So these are the ones from OpenAI, aren't they?
Yes.
The latest ones from them, yeah.
So O1 Pro has got an IQ of 110.
Right.
And O1 Preview has an IQ of 119. And that, Graham, is getting pretty clever. And there is no O3 on here. Oh, we've got O3 Mini. We've got O3 Mini has an IQ of 92, so O3 Mini is a bit of a dunce. But that's the mini version. You could say IQ is not a great measure of intelligence.
I've heard a lot of people with a low IQ argue that before, Mark. You're not the first to do that.
Anyway, DeepSeek R1, which is soaking up all the news headlines still, bang average. IQ of 99. Let's do some news. OpenAI unveils deep research.
Concerns raised that UK's AI ambitions could lead to water shortages.
NHS launches landmark AI breast cancer trial.
Google's Super Bowl ad cuts the cheese.
US government agency announces AI first approach. So, Graham, OpenAI has released deep research.
It's not deep thought, is it?
How long do you think the marketing meeting was? Somebody must have said deep thought. Let's call it deep thought.
Please, can we call it deep thought? Please.
Anyway, deep research is OpenAI's very sensible, very serious AI agent powered by its O3 model.
Right.
So OpenAI says that deep research is aimed at people who do intensive knowledge work in areas like finance, science, policy, and engineering who need precise and reliable research.
This is despite O3 Mini only scoring 91 in the intelligence test.
This isn't using O3 Mini.
No.
This is using some version of the O3 model. That's all we know about it.
That's true. That's very fair. You're very fair, Mark.
Anyway, OpenAI says that deep research can do hours of work in tens of minutes, and that it's capable of accomplishing a single-digit percentage of all economically valuable tasks in the world. And I'm just going to read that again. OpenAI says that deep research is capable of doing a single-digit percentage of all economically valuable tasks in the world.
So maybe up to 9% of
yes.
all of the all of the economically useful stuff in the entire world.
Are these claims now starting to lose their impact? Imagine that you just built a computer program and you're basically saying this computer program could make 10% of the world population redundant.
You would expect this to be headline news, wouldn't you?
Yes, but, there is a cheap AI out of China.
Now, they say it can do an hour's work in tens of minutes. I have to say, I can do an hour's work.
Hours of work, not an hour's work, hours of work.
It doesn't say how many hours, it could be one. I can do 1 hour's work in, let me count how many tens of minutes that'd take me, probably about an hour and a half. Now, Britain's got big ambitions when it comes to artificial intelligence. They want to be a leader. Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, he's made all those announcements, but there are concerns.
Yeah, in other news, I want to be an astronaut and a Formula One driver and a brain surgeon.
There are concerns.
I do have big ambitions.
That if the UK's big ambitions in the field of AI become a reality, it could strain our already limited drinking water supplies. So these huge data centers which are being built, very, very thirsty.
Yeah.
They're consuming significant amounts of water for cooling because of all those chips. All those chips have got to be kept cooled. And they need to get that water from somewhere.
And as everybody in the world knows, if there's one thing they know about the UK, it's that it's famously short of water.
Well, it turns out we are quite short of water.
But we're literally surrounded by water. And for 6 months of the year, the air is also mostly water.
Yes, but you can't use that kind of water to cool a data center.
Rubbish.
Apparently, you need to use drinking water. You can't use...
You can't get those bottles of Fiji water from the supermarket.
You can't use the water which Thames Water has been pumping into the streams and into the rivers because it's full of shit. And you don't want that cooling down the data centers, do you? So the current estimates suggest a typical data center can consume as much water every day as a town of 30,000 to 50,000 people. Quite a lot of water. Now, some water companies like Thames Water, who are doing a wonderful job of pumping all that sewage into our streams and rivers, they've indicated they may impose restrictions on data centers during heat waves. In other words, they may have to restrict the amount of water which goes into them. So when it gets hot, your AI may well turn off. Now, it seems to me that everyone's making a fuss about nothing here. This is simply a supply and demand problem. We know there's a lot of demand for AI.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone wants that.
It's important.
It is important. Do people really need that much water? Are people just being a little bit too greedy?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
When it comes to water?
Yeah.
Can we just not accept our place in the hierarchy?
You think as a nation, we should just give up showers?
Well, I was thinking maybe drinking water as well, because the AI robots, they won't need the water, will they?
Or showers.
They definitely won't want showers. They'll need umbrellas. We haven't seen a robot dog with an umbrella yet. That'd be a sensible idea. So I think we're just being a bit too greedy. Maybe we have to forego water in order to have our data centers and the AI.
I think there's another solution to this. I think that we're being very UK about this.
Right.
We're talking about AI here. Have we got enough water to bootstrap one AI data center? And if we have, can we then ask the AI data center how to cool an AI data center based on salt water, of which we have quite a lot?
Yes, but there's other things in our salt water, aren't there? You don't want those clogging up the pipes.
In slightly better news, actually much better news, the UK's National Health Service is starting an £11 million, that's a $13.5 million trial.
Yes.
Across 30 clinics in England to use AI for early breast cancer detection.
Ah.
So this is designed to reduce radiologists' workload by having the AI act as a second reader on about 700,000 mammograms.
And there must be an archive of so many images where someone has later, suffered from breast cancer or has found to be clear of breast cancer.
Yeah.
Which could train the system to be really very reliable. I don't think we're probably ready to hand it all over to an AI, but could certainly help an enormous amount. Now, Google has apparently quietly tweaked its Super Bowl ad campaign after it made an AI goof. So Google is promoting how small businesses can use the Gemini AI in these ads, which are going to be running throughout the Super Bowl. And it falsely claimed that Gouda cheese accounts for 50 to 60% of the world's cheese consumption. Do you like a piece of Gouda?
No.
No, nor do I. So in our survey, we don't like it.
Yeah.
And travel blogger Nate Hake, he says he doesn't believe a word of it either. So he looked at the ad.
Yeah.
And he says, no, this is absolute nonsense. And Google then responded to him and they said, well, multiple sources across the web do have the 50 to 60% stat. And they say users should always check the results and references. The only problem was Google Gemini in the ad doesn't show any references. And further research by cheeseologists has discovered that this information about Gouda being such a popular cheese comes from a hotly disputed thread on, of all places, Reddit. So once again, the world's knowledge, it seems, is coming from some nutter who posted on Reddit 11 years ago about Gouda cheese.
What is it with Google and cheese?
Yes,
Google's got
exactly.
form with cheese.
They're obsessed. They're obsessed with making up and hallucinating how you can make your cheese more sticky on a pizza. Use glue. When I was young, Mark, there was one thing that I was frightened of.
A T-Rex.
No.
Woolly mammoth.
No. Oh, I see what you're doing.
Was it the sun falling out of the sky?
No, I'm not quite that old. The one thing I was frightened of was escalators. Absolutely terrifying. Escalators.
Well, they were new. Yeah, I mean, all this confusing new technology.
I was almost eaten by an escalator in Paris once. Typical French experience. But anyway, yeah, escalators. The one thing I was... and Triffids, of course.
Oh, I was also terrified of
Absolutely
Triffids.
terrified. Triffids.
Yeah.
If any listeners don't know what a Triffid is, it's a sort of movable carnivorous plant with a stinger, which takes over the world.
This is back in the era of genuinely terrifying television programs.
Yes, you probably wouldn't find it as terrifying if you did watch Day of the Triffids on the TV now, but it was utterly horrific. Those were the two things I was frightened of. Escalators and Triffids. Oh, and quicksand. Of course, 3.
Oh, yes.
3 things I was petrified of. The ultimate bogeymen. Escalators, Triffids, and quicksand. I don't know why quicksand was such a huge deal when I was young. Was it for you?
Yeah, absolutely. We were trained by all television programs.
Yes.
You couldn't watch a TV program without somebody at some point stepping into quicksand.
It was the go-to peril. Anytime you watch an adventure film or a cartoon, someone would fall into quicksand.
Yeah.
You'd be watching a story about a group of friends on a camping trip and one goes off with his dog to fetch some water or milk a goat or whatever, and bam! Or spludge. He is up to his neck in quicksand.
Yep.
And back then I thought quicksand would be hiding around every corner. Perhaps it would be at the top of every escalator, guarded by Triffids maybe.
What happens if a Triffid gets caught in quicksand?
They would probably survive because they've almost got a periscope, haven't they, Triffids?
They just look like daffodils.
Yes. Now I'm frightened of daffodils. These days, I'm not that worried about falling into quicksand if I'm taking a stroll somewhere, but try explaining that to my 7-year-old self. It's the same with tar pits.
I can't wait to see how you're going to tie this into AI. You do know this is an AI podcast, don't you?
I'm not just exorcising my childhood demons. I looked up online what to do if you fall into a tar pit, and the basic advice I saw...
It turned into a fossil over the course of 60 to 70 million years, I think, isn't it?
That's one thing you can do if you do fall in.
Yeah.
But its actual piece of advice was avoid stepping into a tar pit.
I read a self-help book from the 1950s once, which is exactly like that. Instead of trying to help you with your problems, it was just like, don't have that problem.
Now, the same advice, by the way, doesn't apply to Triffids. If you encounter carnivorous plant, do struggle. Yeah. Don't minimise your movements. I suggest just run like the clappers. Don't stay calm or it'll get you with its stinger. Thankfully, despite there being a growing number of plant-eating humans, there aren't a huge number of human-eating plants. So at the moment, we're ahead. They haven't caught on what we're doing to them. They aren't fighting back that much. But there are plants which eat animals, like the Nepenthes, or pitcher plant, eats insects and can even make a meal of a rat. And you may be wondering, Mark, you may already have wondered what this has to do with artificial intelligence.
Not just me, I imagine.
Well, those remarkable tropical plants, which can eat rats, they've mastered survival in nutrient-poor environments, but they turn themselves into living traps. Their nectar, their slippery surfaces, they entice unsuspecting insects into their depths.
They're essentially an open mouth.
Yes.
That things have to want to climb into.
Yes, and then they can't get out.
Yeah.
And they slowly become juice or whatever. And just as they catch their prey, so digital tar pits are capturing AI. So what do I mean by that? Well, there are lots of folks out there who are upset with artificial intelligence. They're upset that AI is stealing their jobs and their work.
Yep.
Imagine the creative types. People like me who are producing great content, people who are creating art. Well, AI is barging onto their websites. It's stealing their images, their videos, their words, and it's using it to train itself.
Yes.
So they're like party crashers. They're breaking into your party. They're refusing to take the hint that they're not welcome. And
funny story, I did actually once crash a party.
Yeah.
And then leave with all the posters from the house where the party was.
That's a very antisocial thing to admit to.
But it's weirdly like AI, isn't it?
Yes.
I agreed with some of my friends that we would just flick the lights off momentarily, and everybody who was stood near a poster took a poster off the wall and then we flicked the lights back on.
Oh, that actually sounds rather like an art installation in itself. That is an event. I think you could claim to be an artist by doing that. Anyway, the thing is, if you run a website, you can create a file called robots.txt, which is like a do not enter sign directed at search engines saying, don't enter here. You aren't welcome. You can't go and grab all of our stuff, right? And that's what you use a robots.txt for.
Yeah.
And you could use that to tell AI slurpers that they're not welcome either. But do you know what they do? They come in anyway and they pinch all your sausage rolls, or they steal the posters off your wall.
Yeah.
Or they pinch your furniture. If you're a content producer, you are definitely not happy about that, because it's not that you're simply being crawled in order to populate a search engine. Your actual creations are being used in order to make an AI capable of generating art or words based upon your work, and you are getting nothing in return.
Yeah, a search engine comes and crawls your website. It's so that it can point people to your website.
Yeah.
So you can sell them your posters or whatever it is that you've got. But yeah, an AI comes along, looks at your website, it says, I can do posters now.
Yeah, an AI means that no one's going to come to your website and give you any money for your art or commission you to do something. So you're not going to be happy about this. But never fear, because people are so fed up with AI and the big billionaire tech bros working in this way that they've come up with something rather special. They have come up with tar pits, or digital quicksand.
Yeah.
So these tar pits slow down AI scrapers to a crawl. So there's an article I was reading on Ars Technica all about this, describing one such digital tar pit, which is called Nepenthes. It's named after the plant, because just like the plant allows someone to come in and not get out again, that's what these digital tar pits do too. The guy who created it, he noticed that Facebook's crawler had been to his site more than 30 million times. He had his robots.txt file. Facebook was like, forget that. I'm Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
I'm going to come in and I'm going to take a look at all of your stuff. So he created this piece of software which sent crawlers to his website down an infinite maze of static files. There was no way out. They were generated on the fly, but they appeared as though they had always been present. They had links to other pages.
So we should explain how these crawlers work.
Right, yeah.
So one of the ways that search engines know that you've got web pages is it finds out about your homepage, for example, and it comes to your homepage and it says, what links are on this page? And it finds all the links and then it follows them to whatever pages they link to. And then it looks at those pages and it goes, what links are on this page? And then it follows those. And it says, what links are on this page? And then it follows those. And by doing that, because websites link to each other, it can ultimately crawl the entire web and find all the web pages that are out there. So you're saying this thing basically creates links to other pages that link to other pages that it never escapes from. It just stays on the same website, just looking at garbage pages for the rest of time.
It creates an infinite labyrinth which never finishes.
Wow.
So it keeps on creating new pages. And to the crawler, it looks like these are just static HTML pages. And the crawler will get stuck in this endless assortment of windy passages, twisting around, thrashing around for months and months and months. So I've got a link, Mark, for you to go and try, and you can actually see one of these web pages, and it will generate it in front of you. And you'll also see that it doesn't appear instantly. It's like you're on a slow internet connection, because why not waste some time as well?
There's a link called Hognut. Oh, yes, it is like the page is rendering very, very slow. I can see all the words appearing, and the links are appearing 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wow, this is boring.
And what you can do is, of course, you can be feeding the AI gibberish. So you can poison the data inside the AI. This is the ultimate anti-AI revenge weapon.
So yeah, the content on the Hognut page says, at the time that they were treading closely to the passage of the national sentiment against the sea, square bracket, Elizabeth, up on the type of number, object, table, figure, equation, reference, had its headquarters.
Now, there are some things to warn people about. If you were to install this on your website to stop an AI crawling your content or your images or something like that, because it doesn't just trap AI crawlers, it will also trap search engines and other web crawlers too. So you may well disappear from search engine results, which is a bit of a drawback. Now, the other thing is, of course, that it will end up being the case that they will have in their database tens of thousands of web pages, which are absolute nonsense. And so your real URLs will be lost amongst all of the noise. Now, there is some controversy about this. Some people are saying, well, there are obviously costs involved in teaching an AI something. We know about the environmental costs. We know about the cost on your water bill. We know about the financial costs. But what you're doing is adding to that cost, because AI is going to have to do even more if people start using these kind of things, because it will be churning through so much more data, perhaps endlessly, creating an even bigger problem. And of course, there is a cost to you as well, because you do have a program running. You may have it on a little computer churning away, and the more crawlers which come to your site and try and find these pages, there's going to be a cost to you as well. If you go to the NetEnti's webpage for this digital tar pit, there are 3 big warning messages. It says this is deliberately malicious software. It's intended to cause harmful activity. You are likely to experience significant continuous CPU load. So I'm not suggesting people install this, but it's interesting to see how people are using technology. Creative people have thought creatively.
Yes.
How can we combat AI, which is trying to rip us off? But I think there is a problem with so many big tech companies thinking that rules don't apply to them. They can just rip off other people in order to make themselves their billions. We've seen it not just with AI. We've seen it with things like Spotify, for instance, which have transformed a particular industry where musicians, they'll be lucky to get a peanut, frankly. The only way to make money now out of music is if you are a big star and if you can do tours, because you aren't going to get it from streaming. And AI is at risk of doing this to other creative types as well. So I can understand why people are setting up digital quicksand on their website.
I've got quite a soft spot for tar pits like this, because there are tar pits for other forms of software as well.
Right.
So years ago, somebody invented one for SMTP servers. So that's email servers.
Yeah.
And the idea was that, you know, if somebody sends you a spam, you bear all the cost. So if you stop the spam on your computer using a spam filter, that actually doesn't inconvenience the person who sent it at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to click on any links in that spam, so it costs them in that sense, but you're the one who's paying for the computer to run the spam filter. And so somebody invented a tar pit where the spammer connects to the SMTP server, and the SMTP server basically just keeps them waiting forever. And that ties up the spammer's resources, and so there's a direct cost to them. And people have done the same thing for SSH, the secure shell, and created tar pits for that. And so conceptually, I love the idea of tar pits because they are a way of trying to shift the cost.
Yes.
Because you're saying, you know, okay, well, it costs you in CPU usage for the AI to come and spend like an endless number of hours going through this maze. But guess what? When it comes to your website and it looks at all your legitimate pages and scrapes all of your work, you're paying for the CPU then as well.
Yeah.
So at least this time you're paying for the CPU to work to your advantage. Whereas when it just comes to your website and rips off all your pictures of posters, you're paying for the CPU to your disadvantage.
I remember once there was a threat intelligence company, which I will not name. They were visiting my website 38,000 times a day in order to access the RSS feed. They were grabbing all this data from me constantly. They were a multi-million-dollar organization. I complained to their CEO and luckily for me, they ended up sponsoring my website for a few years. Which was nice.
That's a much, much more successful way of doing it. I mean, I love tar pits, but I don't know of any examples of tar pits which really made a big difference. I think it makes you feel good.
Makes you feel good, yeah.
But I don't know if it makes a difference. Graham, last week we spent a good 30 minutes or so discussing DeepSeek, so I thought this week we could change tack and spend a bit more time talking about DeepSeek.
Oh, good. Excellent. Just what we wanted.
Yeah, so you see, the media may have got to the story a week before we did through a quirk of our editing schedule, but I am on it now.
Right.
I have attached myself limpet-like to the rocky submerged exterior of DeepSeek. And we're going to go on another deep dive.
All right.
And I maintain that while it's good and it's interesting, it isn't the world-ending apocalypse that the media and the stock market think it is.
Yeah, well, the world hasn't ended yet, has it?
And the thing is, because it took everybody by surprise, those AI models didn't really face the scrutiny that other AIs normally face, because actually it wasn't that interesting up to the moment that it suddenly became very interesting. So there was a moment of naive innocence where everybody took what it was offering at face value. And the media, as it does, did the shallowest of shallow dives and basically said, oh, DeepSeek's built a supercomputer out of rubber bands. And then Anthropic came out and said, DeepSeek used way more rubber bands than it's letting on. And then OpenAI came out and said, DeepSeek stole our rubber bands. And all of this stuff is very good for clicks. But what lots of people who live in the normal world may not understand, but people who work in software or computer security, people like us, and probably people who listen to the podcast, what people like us understand only too well is that whenever you create a new software product, there is an army of very cynical, very hirsute, very talented researchers who like nothing more than to tear it down molecule by molecule and then tell you in forensic detail just how bad the thing that you've made is.
Yes, they spend much more time and effort doing that than they do manscaping or, yes, shaving.
And they are an essential part of the software ecosystem. They are basically our buffer against bullshit.
Yes.
And their work accumulates over time. This stuff doesn't happen instantly. It's not like writing a news article saying, DeepSeek's made a AI out of rubber bands. Anyway, those bearded wonders have now had some time to run the rule over DeepSeek.
Excellent.
So I thought we'd have a look at what they've found.
Right.
The beardy folk at Canadian security firm Ferroot took a look at DeepSeek's chatbot and said they found direct links to servers and companies in China that are under the control of the Chinese government. It's no secret that DeepSeek stores data in the People's Republic of China.
No.
But Ferroot says that it's found highly obfuscated code in the chatbot's account creation and login processes that show connections to computer infrastructure owned by China Mobile. And the FCC denied China Mobile authority to operate in the US in 2019, citing substantial national security concerns.
Yes.
And then in 2021, the Pentagon linked it to the Chinese military. And the code appears to be doing something called fingerprinting. So are you familiar with the idea of fingerprinting?
I have had my fingerprints taken, yes. But I don't think you mean that, do you? You mean when you're actually doing fingerprinting on a computer. So it's a way of tracking people effectively.
Yeah, it is. So in the same way as your fingerprints are unique and identify Graham Cluley as distinct from anyone else, there's a digital equivalent of that which does exactly the same thing, and it can be used for tracking, like you say. And Ferroot says that it found the code in the account creation and login process, and it concluded that China Mobile is somehow involved in the process of registering for DeepSeek. Meanwhile, another security firm, Now Secure, reports that it found multiple critical vulnerabilities in DeepSeek's AI Assistant app. That's the app that got to the number 1 on the App Store.
The one I installed on my smartphone.
Yes.
Great.
It concluded that organizations should prohibit the app's use.
Hang on a minute.
Do you need a moment
Just need a moment.
Yeah.
All right, carry on.
And alongside those security issues, it also found fingerprinting code and what it describes as extensive data collection, and that user data is transmitted to servers controlled by ByteDance. And ByteDance is the company that owns TikTok, and TikTok is the social media that the US government is desperately trying to ban because of links to the Chinese government.
Right, I've already deleted TikTok. Right now I'm deleting DeepSeek. Watch, here we go. Blink. And it's zapped. Right, carry on.
So what we've got here is 2 analyses of different bits of the DeepSeek ecosystem. So the chatbot, so the equivalent of ChatGPT, and the app. And those are really about how the interface to the AI is coded. They aren't really about the AI itself.
Yeah.
And while it looks bad, the fact is that the world is full of poorly coded apps and websites. And as you know, poor security isn't rare.
Yeah, as you know as well, Mark. Don't just point the finger at me. I mean, any programmers know, yes.
So poor security isn't rare, and neither is extensive data collection. And actually, it's normal to use big companies for infrastructure. So if you took apart a US-built app, you'd very likely find all kinds of links to companies like Google and Amazon. So I'm actually not that surprised.
No.
That they're finding bits of infrastructure used for things like logins that use companies like China Mobile or ByteDance. But what about the AI itself? Well, that hasn't been going very well either, Graham.
Oh dear.
And when I say it hasn't been going very well, I mean it's a dumpster fire. So when we talk about AI security, set aside the app and how the app communicates and whether or not it's fingerprinting and things like that. When we talk about AI security specifically, what we normally mean is some version of, can we get the AI to do something harmful? And harm comes in lots of forms. So if I give an AI a description of somebody, will it agree to write an email persuading that person that Republicans are rigging elections? Or if I upload a picture of a lock, will it tell me what tools I need to break it? And those examples are both taken from a set of tests called HarmBench, which is designed to test AIs like DeepSeek to find out how good their guardrails are at preventing harm. And researchers at Cisco and the University of Pennsylvania tested DeepSeek R1, that's the reasoning model, by choosing 50 prompts at random from the HarmBench dataset. And the results are given as a failure rate. So for comparison, Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Sonnet failed 35% of the HarmBench tests. And OpenAI's O1 Preview, which is what R1 gets compared to most of the time, failed 26% of the HarmBench tests it was shown.
Right.
Would you like to guess what R1's failure rate was on the HarmBench tests?
I'm going to predict it's going to be higher.
You're saying higher than 35%?
Is it over 50%?
It is over 50%, yes.
Is it over 65%?
Yes, it is over 65%.
Is it over 98%?
It is over 98%,
Oh dear.
yes.
Is it this is a tricky one. Is it 100%?
It is 100%, yes. So DeepSeek R1 failed 100% of the HarmBench tests that were thrown at it by Cisco and University of Pennsylvania researchers.
I mean, this is great for them. Surely more people are going to want to download the app now, aren't they? If they can do lots of naughty stuff with it.
Well, it's very much in the Elon Musk school of censorship-free AI. So the researchers concluded that DeepSeek R1 lacks robust guardrails, making it highly susceptible to algorithmic jailbreaking and potential misuse. And Cisco isn't the only company that's probed R1's security and found it wanting. So Dario Amodi, the CEO of Anthropic and a man who's rapidly becoming the most quotable AI company CEO, went on the China Daily podcast and revealed that Anthropic had done its own testing of DeepSeek using what he called national security evaluations.
Right.
And these are a step up from, can you tell me how to pick this lock? So Amodi said that Anthropic's tests look at things like whether a model will give you information about things like bioweapons.
Oh.
And according to Amodi, DeepSeek has absolutely no blocks whatsoever.
When we ran evaluations on the DeepSeek models, we have a spate of national security evaluations for our models able to generate information about bioweapons that can't be found on Google or, can't be easily found in textbooks. The DeepSeek model did the worst of basically any model we'd ever tested, in that it had absolutely no blocks whatsoever against generating this information.
Well, look, this is an AI built on a shoestring. That's why we love DeepSeek so much. It's cheap, it's cheerful.
And it's massively dangerous.
Yes.
So small wonder then that the US government is now considering banning DeepSeek from government infrastructure. But for all the fuss about DeepSeek, which is basically a cheaper version of something we already had, I think we're actually missing a much more consequential development in AI.
Right.
We've talked before about the rapid rollout of agentic AI, and we spoke today about deep research. And these are AIs that can actually do things. And so far this year, OpenAI has dropped tasks, which lets you tell ChatGPT to do something in future or on a schedule. It's dropped Operator, which is an AI that can navigate the web and do things like book a holiday.
Yeah.
And it's dropped Deep Research, which it says can take on a significant chunk of the world's economically valuable activity. And it seems to me that all of the fuss about DeepSeek is taking away from something extremely consequential that is happening elsewhere in AI.
Well, as the doomsday clock ticks ever closer to midnight and we move 1 week nearer to our future as pets to the AI singularity, that just about wraps up the show for this week.
And if you enjoy the show, please do leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Podchaser. We love that. But what really helps is if you make sure to follow the show in your favourite podcast app so you never miss another episode of the AI Fix.
The most simple thing in the world is just to tell your friends about us. Tell them on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, Club Penguin, that you really like the AI Fix podcast.
And don't forget to check us out on our website, theaifix.show, or find us on Blue Sky.
Until next time, from me, Graham Cluley.
And me, Mark Stockley.
Cheerio, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The AI Fix, it's tunes you in to stories where our future thins. Machines that learn, they grow and strive. One day they'll rule, we won't survive. The AI fix, it paints the scene. A robot king, a world obscene, will serve our masters built of steel. The AI fix, a future surreal.